The strangest part wasn't watching my ex-boyfriend's life collapse. It was watching him live stream the collapse himself. Every few hours, another Instagram story appeared, Brandon crying in his car, Brandon accusing unnamed people of being jealous, Brandon posting inspirational quotes about betrayal, while government agencies quietly dismantled the little empire he'd spent years pretending was legitimate. And every time my phone buzzed, I remembered how this whole thing started. Over a restaurant bill. My name is Kizzy Brennan. I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I had been dating Brandon Cole for almost 2 years. Brandon was 29. Online, he called himself a beauty entrepreneur, makeup artist, future studio owner. The truth was more complicated. But I'll get to that. When Brandon and I first started dating, money wasn't a problem. We alternated dinners, split groceries, and treated each other like partners. I worked as a tax preparer at a mid-sized accounting firm and made around $67,000 a year. Comfortable, but nowhere near rich. About 6 months into the relationship, Brandon slowly stopped reaching for his wallet. At first, there was always an excuse. My client canceled. My payment hasn't cleared. I'll get the next one. Eventually, the next one was always mine. When I finally mentioned it, Brandon laughed. "Babe, you make good money." "Good money isn't unlimited money." He smiled. "You're my woman. Sometimes women take care of their man." That should have bothered me more than it did, because soon I wasn't only paying for Brandon. I was apparently responsible for his friends, too. Brandon had 4 close friends who loved expensive restaurants, and somehow became invisible whenever the check arrived. $300, $350, sometimes $400. Whenever I complained, Brandon dismissed it. "They're my people. They also have jobs." "You're too serious about money." No, I was serious about being used. The breaking point came on a Saturday night. Brandon told me we were having dinner alone. When we reached the restaurant, Marcus and 3 other friends were already sitting at the table. Brandon kissed my cheek. Surprise. It wasn't anymore. Within 20 minutes, the table was covered with steak, seafood, appetizers, desserts, and $18 cocktails. Marcus emptied his glass and waved toward the server. "Keep them coming." Then he pointed at me. "She has it." Everyone laughed. Except me. I looked at Brandon. He avoided my eyes. Something inside me went completely calm. I asked him to step away from the table. "What?" he said. "I'm not paying for your friends tonight." His expression hardened. "Are you serious?" "Completely." "Kizzy, don't embarrass me." I stared at him. They invited themselves, ordered hundreds of dollars in food, and Marcus just announced that I'm paying. He was joking. "Then he'll laugh when his bill arrives." Brandon lowered his voice. "You always get weird about money." "No, I get weird when grown adults treat my bank account like community property." "You make more than they do." "That doesn't make me responsible for them." He folded his arms. "You're really making me go back there and tell them that?" "Yes." He returned to the table first and whispered something. 4 faces immediately turned toward me. Nobody spoke after that. When the check came, I calculated what Brandon and I owed, added a tip, placed the cash inside the folder, and stood. Marcus blinked. "Where are you going?" "Home." He glanced at the bill. "But—" I smiled. "Have a good night." Brandon's face turned red. I left before he could start another argument. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Instagram. Brandon had posted a black screen covered in white text. "Some women never learn how to treat a man. A real woman doesn't nickel and dime the person she loves. She provides. She protects. If you can't afford my lifestyle in my circle, you can't afford me. Period." Then came the hashtags. Number know your worth. Number level up. Number real women provide. I stared at it for several seconds. Then I left one comment. True. My phone rang almost immediately. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Brandon snapped. "Nothing." "Don't play stupid." "You're right." Silence. If I can't afford your lifestyle and your circle, then apparently I can't afford you. Hizzy. So we're done. What? We're done. Over dinner? No. Over you publicly humiliating me because I refused to finance your friends. You embarrassed me first. I gave you a boundary privately. You attacked me publicly, he scoffed. You're throwing away 2 years over one post? No, that post just made everything clear. I looked around my apartment. My apartment. The lease was entirely in my name. Brandon had moved in 8 months earlier because he claimed he was saving money to expand his business. He paid no rent, no electricity, no internet, nothing. Pack your things, I said. Silence. You're kicking me out? Yes. You're going to regret this. That almost made me laugh. Because Brandon didn't know what I knew. He told everyone he was a makeup artist. Technically true, but makeup represented maybe 20% of his income. The rest came from eyebrow microblading, cosmetic injections, and lip procedures performed from friends' apartments. Cash preferred. $300 for brows, $400 for lips, 15 to 20 clients. Some months. No legitimate professional license. No properly reported business income. And Brandon was dating a tax preparer. I hadn't gone looking for his secrets. He practically displayed them in our living room. He used my printer for consent forms, left appointment notebooks on the counter, discussed prices on speakerphone. Clients sent digital payments labeled birthday gift, dinner, or thanks when they were really paying for procedures. Once I asked him why none of that income appeared on his tax return. He shrugged. It's cash. As if cash became invisible when the government wasn't watching. Over the previous year, I'd quietly saved what passed through my apartment. Photos of appointment pages, copies of consent forms, screenshots of payment transfers, private videos Brandon posted showing himself performing procedures. From what I'd seen, he'd made close to $70,000 that year. Reported? Almost nothing. That night, I sat alone at my dining table while Brandon kept calling. 7 missed calls. 9. 12. Then another Instagram notification appeared. Never let a controlling woman make you feel guilty for knowing your value. Marcus commented beneath it. She'll learn. I stared at those words. Then I smiled. Marcus was right. Someone was about to learn. I opened my laptop and searched for a form I knew very well from my profession. Form 3949. A. Information referral. For a moment, my fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I started typing. Brandon moved out 3 days later. Quietly would have been too dignified. He turned it into an event. By 10 Saturday morning, Marcus and 2 other friends were marching through my apartment carrying boxes while Brandon filmed Instagram stories from the hallway. Starting over after emotional abuse, he said into his phone. I stood in the kitchen drinking coffee. Marcus passed me and shook his head. You'll regret losing him. Maybe. He was the best thing that ever happened to you. I took another sip. Cool story. That irritated him more than arguing would have. Brandon took everything he'd purchased, which was fair. Then he started taking things I'd purchased. The coffee maker, air fryer, even the bathroom rug. I deserve something after wasting 2 years, he said. I pulled receipts from my email. My coffee maker. Another receipt. My air fryer. Another. My rug. Marcus laughed bitterly. You seriously kept receipts? I looked at him. I'm a tax preparer. Then Brandon spotted the succulent near the kitchen window. I'd had that plant for 3 years, long before I'd met him. He picked it up. I'm taking this. No, you gave it to me. I didn't. Yes, you did. I opened my phone and showed him a picture from 4 years earlier. Same plant. Same pot. Brandon stared at it. Then something changed in his face. He threw the plant against the wall. The ceramic pot shattered. Soil scattered across the floor. The succulent broke into pieces. There, he said. Now nobody gets it. Marcus laughed. Period. I stared at the mess. For a second, I wanted to scream. Instead, I grabbed the broom. That bothered Brandon more. You seriously don't care? I kept sweeping. I care about getting dirt off my floor. He left 15 minutes later. Then the social media campaign began. When a woman can't provide, she'll gaslight you into believing you're asking for too much. Another post. I'm a prize, not a roommate. Then. Funny how women want a husband but bring roommate energy. His friends flooded the comments. Know your worth, King. She fumbled. Real women are rare. I didn't respond. Because while Brandon was performing for Instagram, I was doing something much less entertaining. Documenting. The referral wasn't something I submitted impulsively that first night. I spent days organizing what I already had, and verifying dates. If I was going to do this, I wasn't going to exaggerate. I didn't need to. Brandon's own records were enough. Then he handed me the final piece himself. About a week after moving out, he posted a video from Marcus's apartment. A woman was lying back in a chair while Brandon worked over her face. His tools were visible. Her face was visible. So was Brandon. The caption read, Building my empire while my ex stays basic. $5K this week alone. Some of us provid, some just take. I stared at the number. $5,000. Publicly posted. I screen recorded the story, then screenshotted the caption. Twice. The next morning, I sat at my desk before work and finished the referral. Client notebook entries, dates, services, prices, payment screenshots, consent forms, videos, his public statement about earning $5,000 in 1 week. Estimated unreported annual income, approximately $72,000. And while reviewing old financial records, I remembered something else. During the pandemic, Brandon had collected unemployment for roughly 3 months. He had also been taking clients. That information went in too. When everything was organized, I submitted it. Confirmation number, done. Then I filed a complaint with the appropriate state regulators regarding the unlicensed procedures. And because Marcus had apparently decided his apartment was Brandon's new clinic, I notified the property management company that commercial cosmetic procedures were being performed from a residential unit. Then I waited. For almost 2 weeks, nothing happened. Brandon kept posting. New beginning, new energy, new empire. I almost wondered whether nothing would come of it. Then Marcus posted an Instagram story. Black background. White letters. If you've had cosmetic work done, at my address. Delete your texts with Brandon. Delete payment records. This is not a drill. I actually read it twice. Deleting records after an investigation starts. Brilliant. By that afternoon, I learned what had happened. State health officials had shown up at Marcus's apartment, and somehow, with the kind of timing you couldn't write better, they arrived while Brandon was with a client. He apparently tried to claim he was practicing on a friend. The client panicked. I paid him $400, she told them. That ended the performance. The procedure was stopped immediately. His equipment was taken as evidence. Then property management got involved. Running a commercial operation from the apartment already violated the lease. Running unlicensed cosmetic procedures there made it considerably worse. Marcus received notice that his tenancy was in jeopardy. Suddenly, know your worth, King, disappeared from his vocabulary. Brandon went online crying. Someone is trying to destroy me, he said into the camera. This is what happens when you leave a toxic woman. She can't stand seeing you win. But for the first time, his comments weren't universally supportive. One person wrote, Wait, were you actually licensed? Another, you were doing injections in someone's apartment? Another asked, if you're making $5K a week, are you paying taxes on it? That comment disappeared quickly. So did the $5,000 post. Then several older business posts vanished. Within hours, Brandon's account went private. But screenshots don't become private. A few days later, I received correspondence asking me to verify whether Brandon had lived at my address during the period covered by the referral. Yes. Had we been married? No. Had I participated in his business? No. I answered truthfully. That evening, Brandon's Instagram went nuclear. He had clearly received correspondence of his own. My ex reported me to the Urs. Another story appeared. Over a restaurant bill. Then another. Brandon was crying now. This woman is evil. She couldn't control me, so now she's trying to destroy my life. My DMs exploded. Marcus wrote, "You're a snake." Another friend wrote, "This is financial abuse. We're getting lawyers." Then Brandon's mother messaged me, "How could you do this to him? He could lose everything." That was the only message I answered. I typed, "I didn't create his tax problem. I reported it." Then I blocked her. For the first time since the breakup, I felt uneasy. Not guilty, uneasy. Because reporting something and watching the consequences arrive were two different experiences. I knew penalties could be serious. I knew regulators wouldn't care about Brandon's Instagram explanations, but I still didn't know how far this would go. 3 nights later, Brandon called from an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. Almost. Kizzy. His voice sounded different. No arrogance. No performance. What? They're asking for years of records. I stayed silent. Payment accounts. Bank statements. Client information. Everything. That sounds like something you should discuss with an accountant. You did this. No, Brandon. You did the work. You took the money. You didn't report it. You knew what would happen. I knew what could happen. His breathing became shaky. Then he said something that told me he still hadn't understood anything. If you'd just paid for dinner, none of this would have happened. I closed my eyes. Even now, even with regulators asking questions and his business shut down, Brandon still believed the problem was the restaurant. No, I said quietly. If you'd paid your taxes, none of this would have happened. Then I hung up. At that point, I thought losing his illegal business and dealing with a tax investigation would be the worst of it. I was wrong. Because the IRS wasn't the only agency interested in Brandon's income anymore. And the next letter wasn't asking questions. It was asking for money. The final numbers were worse than Brandon expected. $18,000 in unpaid taxes, $7,000 in penalties, $3,000 in interest, $28,000. Then the unemployment office came calling. They wanted back the $8,400 Brandon had collected while secretly working, plus additional penalties. The state wasn't finished either. He received a $5,000 fine for performing cosmetic procedures without the required licensing, along with restrictions that effectively killed his plan of opening a legitimate studio anytime soon. His empire disappeared in less than a month. The BMW went first. Brandon posted a photograph of it being taken away with the caption, "Sometimes rebuilding means letting go of things you love." He made it sound spiritual. The reality was simpler. He couldn't afford the payments. Then his friends started disappearing. Marcus, who had laughed when Brandon smashed my plant, suddenly wasn't laughing anymore. Property management blamed the unauthorized business for violations at his apartment, and he started demanding Brandon reimburse him for the costs. A week later, Marcus unfollowed him. Another friend posted, "Protect your peace. Not everybody's problems are yours to carry." Apparently, Know Your Worth, King had an expiration date. Brandon's Instagram changed too. The luxury dinners vanished. So did the designer clothes and posts about making thousands every week. Everything became motivational quotes. Rebuilding, refocusing, rising. Then one afternoon, someone sent me a screenshot. Brandon had posted a picture of a job application, Starbucks. The caption read, "Humbled but not broken. Starting again." Someone commented, "What happened to being a provider?" The comment disappeared almost immediately, but someone else had already screenshotted it. For the first time, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then Brandon texted me, "I hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Another message arrived. "You destroyed my life because of your ego. I was building something, and you tore it down because you couldn't handle being asked to provide." Then, "I'm working at Starbucks now, Kizzy, making coffee for people I used to have as clients. That's because of you." I stared at the screen. A month earlier, that message might have made me furious. Now it just made me tired. So I sent one final response. "I didn't make you hide income. I didn't make you collect benefits while working. I didn't make you perform procedures without a license. I gave the government information. Everything after that came from your choices." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "You're evil." I typed, "Make sure you report your tips." Then Brandon blocked me. That should have been the end. Mostly it was. A few weeks later, I stopped at a coffee shop on my way home from work. Not Brandon's Starbucks. 2 women at the table behind me were talking. "Did you see what happened to that beauty guy from Instagram? The one always talking about women providing?" "Yes, turns out he wasn't even paying taxes." They laughed. I didn't turn around. I just smiled into the coffee I'd purchased with my own money. Life moved on. Eventually, I started seeing someone new. Nothing dramatic. No grand declarations about what women or men were supposed to provide. On our second date, when the check arrived, he reached for it. "I've got this one. I can split it." He smiled. "You got the last one." That simple sentence almost made me laugh. Partnership. I'd forgotten how uncomplicated it could be. And the succulent Brandon smashed? Not all of it died. While cleaning the dirt that morning, I'd found one small piece that was still intact. I planted it in a tiny pot. For weeks, nothing happened. Then one morning, I noticed a new green shoot. Now it sits in my kitchen window. Smaller than before, but growing. Brandon still posts occasionally. His bio says, "Rebuilding, refocusing, rising." Maybe he will. I genuinely hope he does. But rebuilding requires admitting why everything collapsed in the first place. And as far as I know, Brandon still believes this happened because I refused to pay for 4 adults' cocktails. It didn't. That dinner simply made me stop protecting him from consequences he had created long before I walked out of that restaurant. He wanted everyone online to believe I wasn't enough of a woman because I had boundaries. Instead, he taught me something useful. There is a difference between supporting someone and financing their entitlement. And there is an even bigger difference between building an empire and building something that can survive an audit. Brandon learned that one the expensive way. As for me, my bills are paid. My apartment is peaceful. My plant is growing. And nobody points at me when the waiter brings the check anymore.